Dear all, I'm really very happy to present to you the outcome of the extensive field visit we have done to the lowlands of Ethiopia. This is done based on the project which is funded by GIZ and implemented by UNESCO IHE, where I am a senior lecturer, in collaboration with the Ethiopian State Irrigation Network, as well as Meta and the Ministry of Water and Energy. In this field assessment, we try to look what are the opportunities for development as far as floods are concerned, for bettering the lives of the livelihood in the arid lowlands of Ethiopia. When we say flashes, they are flash floods. When we say seasonal rivers, there could be 3 months, could be 6 months, and even the semi-perennial rivers that flow up to 7 or 8 months. So during this field visit, we made extensive travel throughout the lowlands of Ethiopia in 5 regions, as you can see in the map. And when we say lowlands, we define it as being below 1,000 meters above sea level. Now, there are different ways of assessing the potential for development and also opportunities for development. For us, as a team of, there was a team of senior and young professionals, we agreed on 3 major questions. The first one is, do we have the foundation for development? Is it now the right time to go and develop the use of floods for livelihood? Are there bright spots that we could draw upon? And the third and important question is, do we have failure cases? And how have we or can we learn from them? Now, after traveling for over a month throughout these lowlands of Ethiopia, what we could definitively say is that there is a good foundation for development that we can build upon. What are these foundations? The first thing is that there are model farmers. At the end of the day, whatever development we make, it must help the farmers, it must improve their livelihood. So, but you need some receptive audience. And we came across so many model farmers, some of them willing to try new technologies, some of them willing to give some part of their land for some trials. So this was very encouraging. The other thing is that the government bodies at the lower level of the administration. And even in Afar, Wereda, which is considered not the highly developed region, what we found is that the governments, the heads, the institutions there, they have strategic plans, 5-year strategic plan for development. So you can easily tap upon into this. And if we see the government as a whole, there is a very strong political will and commitment. And also sometimes one of the problems or one of the fears by some development organizations is that the government may want to take away or to do away with pastoralism. On the contrary, the policy is to integrate pastoralism and agro-pastoralism. But more crucially, there is also supportive policy in place. The government would like to promote the use of floods for livelihood improvement in the lowlands. Now, we have seen the farmers, the government, but also the development organizations are very important. GIZ, which supported and funded this whole visit to the lowlands, is very much interested to make a difference in the lowland part of the country. IFAD has a long history of supporting spade irrigation and flood-based farming. And NOFIC, the Dutch embassy, has sponsored training programs and very much interested in this. World Bank is supporting the Pakistan Spade Irrigation Network. And very much interesting and important is that there are several NGOs working on the ground trying to promote the use of floods for better livelihood. Now, the second question was about the bright spots. Do we have bright spots in this country that we can draw upon? And I think we have come across so many bright spots. Here we present you the most important ones. One is in Konso, which is in the southern part of the country. And this is an irrigation system constructed by the Ethiopian Evangelical Church and it has a total irrigable area of 5,400 hectares. What is innovative about the diversion work in this part of the country is that they combine both concrete and gabion in order to make the price or the cost of the head work much lower. And up by just 200, 300 US dollars, they managed to construct this weir which supplies water for 500 hectares. Usually, the donor community are reluctant to invest in spade or flood irrigation because of the high cost involved. The other thing is proper land preparation, field band, in order to retain water and improve productivity. While it is common in some other countries where spade irrigation has long history, such as Yemen and Pakistan, it's not that common in the rest of Ethiopia, except in this part, which is in the Konso region. By the way, because of this proper land preparation and soil moisture conservation, this region, or this part of Ethiopia, has not seen any drought. And when it comes to agronomy, there is of course, just to collaborate what I was saying, that because of this kind of land preparation, soil moisture conservation, the harvest based on a local variety could reach up to 4.2 tons per hectare for maize, while in some other countries such as Yemen, the yield is much lower at 2 or even less ton per hectare. Now, coming to some agronomic packages. There is a demonstration site in Konso, and they have been making trials of solo papaya. And this, as compared to the traditional papaya, has a lot of advantages. But the two crucial ones are that it can stay up to 4 days before ripening, and therefore marketing, taking it long distance, is possible without making damage to the fruit. But the other thing is it has a very high yield. It starts giving yield at 50 centimeters of height, and it goes all the way up to 5 years. While if you see the local varieties, they start producing fruit at 1.5 meters. Now, of course, there is opportunity for development even within Konso. And while there is a lot of hard work in land preparation, soil moisture conservation, this is mainly done manually. But in Pakistan, like you can see in this photo, they have introduced some light machinery for land preparation, soil mulching, and tillage practices. And this could be an option for this part of Ethiopia and even the rest part of the country where mechanization is not really that common. Now, as I already said, if we see opportunities for development, what I have already explained in Konso could be transferred to the other parts of the country, and mechanization could be one of the opportunities for development within Konso itself. The other thing that you don't see in Konso is overflow control structures. These are structures in order to minimize damage by large floods when they flow from one field to the next field. And we have some experiences in Pakistan, the photo on the left side, my left, and in Yemen, the photo on my right side. And this could be introduced to Konso and to other parts of the country. So this is just a summary of what I already explained, what are the opportunities for development within Konso. And by the way, as a spade irrigation network, we try always to promote good local practices in spade irrigation or flood-based farming systems. And what you see here is our website, www.spadeirrigation.org, and we invite you to visit it. There are extensive data and information and resources, and also would like to encourage you to send as much information as you can so that others could benefit from it. Now, the other interesting bright spot is in Awadi Jitu scheme, which is in Oromia. And this is on smart land sharing arrangement. There are two crucial points here. In this region, or in this part, a landowner is not an obsolete owner. He or she is obliged to share his irrigated field with others. Of course, he can refuse, but if he refuses, then the Water User Association has the right to deprive him or her of any spade flow or flood. And why they do this is that because the irrigated area, which is relying on the flood season during the dry period, is such small, and that it has to be shared with about 210 beneficiaries. Now, of course, we ask them what are their needs, and they perfectly know what they need. As summarized by the chairman of the Water Leader Association, he said, we have water, we have labor, what we need is know-how and financial resource to construct ponds. The main problem in this area is that the spade flow and the rainy season are at the same time. So while there is large flood during the rainy period, they cannot make use of it. So the spade flow is only used during the dry period, when its quantity of water is also much less. The other thing is, in Oromia, we came across what they call the singing wells. Now, what you see in the photo is Kebena is the well itself. Then Fechana is a kind of staged reservoir. So they bring water from Kebena to Fechana, and from there to Naninga, where the livestock could access it. Now, they do this through labor. Of course, when it is dry, the well is very deep. Up to 16 people line up in order to bring the water all the way into where the livestock could access it. Now, what the problem in this area is that the traditional wells, as you can see here, the livestock corridor, the passage, which is earthen, usually collapses during the flood period, and therefore no livestock can access the well. And as part of rehabilitation, which is done by the South Rangeland Development Unit, which is SORDU, they have tried to make some embankment protection, as you can see on the left side photo. And as you can see on the right hand photo, is that they tried to make concrete for the stages where people could stand when they are bringing water all the way from the well into where the livestock could access it. And when it comes to cost, actually, in order to rehabilitate a single well, it costs us up to 400,000 up to 500,000 birr, and €1 is approximately about 23 birr. Now, of course, we have seen there is opportunity for development in that area itself by rehabilitating the wells, but this could be transferred to other areas, and crucially to Afar Region, where there is a lot of pastoralists and a lot of reliance on livestock. And as you can see in the map, which is in zone 5, there is huge potential for groundwater, and it is this area where we can see if we can transfer this know-how from Borona. Now, the other thing, which is in Guguf in Tigray, again, there is a very nice way of water sharing rights. Unlike in many countries like Yemen or other places where spade irrigation or flood-based farming is practiced, there is no obsolete right for the upstream in Guguf scheme. All water sharing and water distribution is based on lottery. You irrigate whatever your luck gives you. So it could happen that the downstream farmer could have the first priority, and the upstream farmer could irrigate the last, because purely lottery based. The other important thing is that if during this year flood season, irrigation stops halfway through the main canal or through the command area, the next season, irrigation starts from the dry part of the scheme. So I think this is a very good way of trying to make it very fair when it comes to water sharing. The other thing is, if you see the photo to my left, the bottom to my left, then what you see is a very properly rehabilitated river course. Using check dams, using gabions, they rehabilitated this river that it swims like it's just doesn't look like a river even. So this rehabilitation has so many advantages, but one of the main advantages is that it doesn't create scorching or eating up of the agricultural area. What you see on the right hand side, to my right photo, is that we're discussing with some representatives of the Guguf scheme on how they share their water and what kind of farming activities they do. And we were lucky. There was a very big meeting involving all the villagers in that area, discussing about what their main problems are. And our key question was, what are the development opportunities that you would like to have? And they were very clear. They would like to have ponds so that they can retain the spade flow that occurs during the rainy season, so they use it during the dry period. They are relying now on crop residue for their livestock. They would like to see if there is a potential for development of rangeland, but also they have serious, very serious problem of drinking water supply, and they stressed that this should be a priority when it comes to addressing their problems. So what we discussed with them is that actually there are experiences in Sudan when from similar seasonal rivers people are diverting it into huge reservoirs and then making some treatments of the water and using it for drinking water supply. And in that place, occasionally there are very big or large floods that could not be utilized anyway for agricultural production, and these floods could be diverted and hand-rested in reservoirs for drinking water supply. Now another thing is in Afar, and this is in a place called Abala, and in a border between Tigray and Afar, there is a 10,000 hectare of irrigable land, under spade irrigation. So what are the bright spots here? People have actually a lot of experience of constructing gabions, which they could share with others. They told if there is double-layered, properly constructed gabion, as you see on the top photo to my left, it can withstand very huge floods, but if you see the photo to my right, actually a very damaged gabion, and this is a single layer gabion. So how you construct the gabion makes, of course, a big difference. The other important thing is that the water distribution. In many engineering courses we teach we have to have multiple offtakes so that you can dissipate the energy of the floods. As you can see in the photo to my left, then you see 5 arrows, and these are 5 courses for distributing the water at one point from the river, and in such a way that they dissipate the energy, they control it, they manage it, they make use of it with little damage to their agricultural areas. Now, the most important opportunity for development in this area is actually to retain some of the water. There are 4 or 5 rivers actually leaving the Abala plain through a single outlet, which is only 75 meters wide. So if we can make controlled embankment, we can flood larger upstream areas that have huge potential for rangeland development. And this could address even some of the vehement conflicts that exist among the pastoralists and agro-pastoralists. Now, before leaving the Afar region, we would like also to talk about Kebena River. This is in Awash. This is a very wide river, and people are really facing a huge bank erosion problem. As you can see in the photo, the river is eating up its embankment and actually eating up a lot of agricultural area. There has been some attempts with help from FAO, with the local pastoral and agro-pastoral office, as you can see, to make some gabion protection, embankment protection with gabions, and also make some canals for diversion. But what we see here is that the canals are very small, and we can make it much wider so that we can harvest large quantity of floods. Now, a little bit going out of water, diversion, and so on, and coming into the natural resources. The Afar region, especially in Awash, there are a lot of acacia herbergia. This is what we call a miracle tree in Yemen, when it is fully utilized there, but fully underutilized in Awash or in Afar or region. But this acacia herbergiana is actually interesting. It grows in areas with rainfall less than 150 millimeters, so it's drought resistant, it's tolerant salinity, and it regenerates quite quickly. So I think we can make a lot of benefit from it in Afar and in Ethiopia. Now, just to quickly take you through some of the benefits in Yemen, they make the best honey out of it. They use it for fattening of livestock. They use it for charcoal production. But also what is interesting is they extract a liquid from the stem, which is usually used for curing animal skin diseases. Now, the other huge problem in Afar and in many other parts of the country, Ethiopia, is Prosopis. Actually, Prosopis does not give a chance for other trees. It gets rid of them and occupies all the land by itself. So there is above 1 million hectares is considered to be occupied by this tree, and it's not being used for any productive purpose. In Afar, they have tried to make charcoal out of it, but because the charcoal quality is so poor of Prosopis, it resulted in deforestation because the people started also cutting the other useful trees. So what we propose is that we should have a large coordinated initiative focusing on productive use and selected conversion in high intensity area using cost-effective and sustainable control. Now, finally, our third question is, do we have failures? I always say when somebody works very hard, makes a lot of interventions, a lot of development programs, surely there will be some failures. So we should be lucky to have some failures, but as long as we learn from them. And what we have found during our field visit to Ethiopia is that we have learned from our failures, but perhaps not fully. Now, this is one of the failures cases that we present. It is in Alamata, Wereda in Tigray. This is the first scheme to be modernized in the period 1998 to 2000. What are the failures? Of course, it was designed based on conventional approach, small canals, less than 1 millimeter wide, very small discharge, 2 liters per second per hectare, under flood-based farming. Because of the high intensity, short duration period, you need actually 10 or even 15 or even 20 liters per second per hectare. And of course, there is very gentle slopes, and you can see it is full of sediment. Now, how we learn from it? Yes, if you see the schemes that have been recently modernized in Tigray, they have actually learned from this. But what is striking is that in other parts of the country, such as in Amhara, they still use this conventional approach for designing spade irrigation systems. So yes, we have learned from our mistakes, but not fully. Now, what do we suggest after having done all this extensive field visit? What development programs do we suggest? What are the next steps? Actually, the clear problem we see is that there is lack of sharing across the different regions. So we propose that there should be integrated regional package for main lowland high potential areas. And we have identified these potential areas in Afar, in Kobo, Raya Kobo, in East-West Hararge, and also in southern region of the country. What are our concrete proposals? Let's go for appropriate investment in diversion and riverbed management. You remember that even in Tigray there are traditional way of stabilizing riverbeds. We can upscale, upgrade, improve, build upon them. In Konso, we have a combination of concrete and gabion. We can further enrich that innovation. The other thing is we have to work on improved command area, land management. As we have seen in Konso again, there is field band, land preparation, tillage practices, but we can bring in practice from other countries using mechanization, and we can further improve that and expand the area with such a proper land management. The other thing is agronomic and marketing improvements. When you see a solo papaya in Konso, while a traditional papaya in the other parts of country, I think there is a need for exchange in agronomic improvements. But also we lack some packaging and marketing that could actually make a big difference in household income and bettering the livelihood. Of course, we have to look into some supportive packages. And when it comes to thematic packages, like I already said, we can really seriously look into some kind of mechanization. This is largely lacking in many parts of the lowlands. We also, as I already said, exchange in agronomic practices, short duration varieties, new crops, such as oilseeds, legumes from Pakistan or from within the country. And again, we would like to stress the Prosopis management initiative. By the way, as a spade irrigation network, we are fully on board with managing Prosopis and turning the land under Prosopis into something productive. This could be for dual purpose crops such as grain and fodder, because many of the pastoralists rely on fodder and rangeland, or it could be completely changing some part of Prosopis occupied area into rangeland development. But we really need to take initiative and make proper management of Prosopis. The other important and crucial is empowering the women. And maybe I can add here the elderly. Because what happens is that many of these pastoral communities, the young, the ones who have energy, when they travel with their livestock in search of fodder and water, they leave behind the women and the elderly, who are actually not doing much productive activities. So around them, we can build some small-scale irrigation for vegetable and fruit production, or we can also help them in order to fatten small ruminants such as goats, sheep, and then sell them at a better price and at least generate some income, help themselves and also help their household. Now, of course, if you are talking about development programs, without capacity building and research, your success will be limited, particularly when we need a lot of capacity development in Ethiopia. So our capacity development should cover all administrative levels, regional to farm level, should cover the whole chain of expertise, all the way from planners to construction, supervisors and contractors. Of course, as we have seen already, there is a lot of knowledge and know-how within the farmers themselves. We should promote farmer to farmer. And also we have seen there is some know-how also in the place of bright spots, such as in Konso, when people designed concrete and gabion combination. So expert knowledge sharing is important, but not only within Ethiopia, but also within the region. As we have demonstrated, there are some good experience in Pakistan, in Yemen, and maybe in other countries. In Ethiopia, we have some farmer training centers, and maybe it is worthwhile that we try to really build further these training centers, both technically and also institutionally, but also make them financially sustainable. And if we come to Afar, there is an Afar Development Association, which is 1 year old, and this is relies on the community for its funding and is accountable to the community. And I think we should try to involve such kind of community organizations in our projects so that we can improve their capacity and in the meantime also help to a great deal the success of our project. Likewise, there is a 2.5-year-old network, the Ethiopian Spade Irrigation Network. We have like 3-4 core members with good knowledge on spade irrigation. I believe that they should be also involved in any development program, and the network should be also prominent in any development program, as this will ensure sustainability. Finally, we should not forget research, because many development programs suffer because of lack of research component. And with this regard, we have to involve our universities. We have Arba University, capable in engineering. We We have Harama University, agronomic aspects, Samara University, Rangeland Management, Mekelle University, Soil and Water Conservation, and so many other local universities, but also the ministries of agriculture, water, and other government institutions. And always we can benefit if we put together our young Ethiopian professionals together with some young professionals from overseas. It could be from Europe, it could be from US, and so on. Now, finally, I would like to say that we should not forget doing the obvious, but often overlooked. When we design our project, we have to budget adequately and design the project carefully to ensure the genuine involvement of the main beneficiaries. In the lowlands of Ethiopia, I would like to say the main beneficiaries are the pastoralists and agro-pastoralists, but also the government bodies, all the way down to the Wereda and Kebena levels. With this, I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope we can work together to making a difference in the lowlands of Ethiopia. Namaste, which in the local Amharic knowledge means thank you. So thank you very much.